more resources, visit rym.org.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
The Local Youth Worker is a daily podcast that's centered on 5 questions each week. Ranging from the practical to the professional, we're looking for answers to the questions you're asking. Whether you're in full-time, part-time, or even volunteer youth ministry, this podcast is for you.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We are talking to Lara Jensen. Lara has shared a lot about her family, about growing up in a culturally diverse household in every sense of the word, from language barriers to being having siblings from different parts of the world to different parts of the moving around different parts of the country. And so obviously with that, and we kind of touched on some of this, I think in the first day of just the challenge of, transitioning to new contexts. And so, Lara, as we talk about this, what have been some of the challenges that you've dealt with as a family, as you think back and think of all your moves and everything? What were some of the, challenges and the tough discussions that you and your family have had just because of the diversity that's in your household?
Yeah. So I think growing up, I think one of the challenges that we dealt with as a family were the stares that we got when we went out in public. Because, there are 10 of us, but also, you have these 2 white parents and then these kids who are all different, races, and some don't speak English. And so, people would stare at us. And, growing up, I'm like, okay, why are they doing that? And so they're trying to figure out the whole dynamic and, okay, what are they doing? Like, is this an experiment? Like, what is going on here? And so, and just, I think also as a family, just dealing with some of the questions that people have asked us, some of them have just been like off the wall questions where it's like, why would you ask someone that? Like, that is, that's not really appropriate to ask. And so just seeing my parents graciously answer questions that people have had, or just even racially, some of the things we've had to deal with as a family, whether that's going out in public or whether that's even within the family in general. One of my brothers is white, and, I think some of my older brothers kind of, look down on him or were not accepting of him because he did look like my parents. And so even within our own family, dealing with some of that has been a challenge. And so, and with those challenges have come some tough discussions that we've had to have. And I even think, back during my time in Alabama, I think as I was in middle school, and that was really the first time, and it's not like racism doesn't exist in the Northeast, it does, but it was like the first time I was really exposed to it. And it was more of like, oh my gosh, racism exists here? Like, this is crazy. And so I was having those discussions with my parents and really digging into racism, which I thought in my lifetime, I'm like, I would never have to deal with that. But I did, and I was faced with it. And so just being really open with my parents and about that. And I felt, and I expressed to them, I just said, I feel like my humanity is being attacked and I don't understand why. And, as a middle schooler, your brain's still developing and you're still, there's all this stuff that's coming at you. And so, probably back then I was processing it like a middle schooler would. And so, So yeah, I think those were a lot of the tough discussions that I've had to have with my parents. And, I am biracial. And so I think that, I'm half black and half white. And so, just being open with my parents and talking to them where I said, I feel like I have to choose. I have to choose who I am. Am I black or am I white? And them just being really gracious with me and just helping me navigate that and my personhood. Yeah.
That's so interesting. I mean, I'm thinking just so many different things as you're talking, and so as a family, I mean, would y'all sit down and have these discussions? As you talked about some of your siblings looking down on another sibling because of race issues, and then you, thank goodness, you talking about middle school and just all the issues you go through alone in middle school. Now let's just add this to that. I mean, how would y'all have these discussions as a family? I mean, would y'all just sit down and discuss it, or give us some thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, maybe when I was younger, they did that. I don't ever remember a time where we all sat down as a family and had these discussions. I remember it, I think more so for me, where I would have discussions with my parents where it was just me and them, or my mom, or, driving home from school and talking to, my dad about it. But I mean, maybe there was a time they did that. But yeah, I just don't remember us like sitting down at the table and kind of hashing it out and talking about it together. But
and something you were saying, I mean, when you were talking about going out to eat and is this an experiment? People just obviously staring and would y'all as a family just kind of have a discussion beforehand? Okay, y'all, we're going out to eat, and we know most likely we're going to get some looks from people. I mean, was there kind of some ways in which your parents would prepare y'all as y'all went out, or was it just kind of you got out and then have some discussion afterwards? What was that like?
I am not sure, because when we would go out as a family, I was so young at that time. Or maybe I just would I just, I didn't see it or I ignored it. But yeah, I don't know if it was one of those things where they prepped us. I think they definitely, did talk about okay, why people are staring, or, and maybe as my parents individually, they talked with my siblings about it. But yeah, it's one of those things now that I'm older and people stare, whatever. I'm like, I'm so used to it. It doesn't matter. I was out a couple weeks ago with some friends, and one friend said, "Man, this girl keeps staring at us." I said, "Really?" She said, "Yeah." And she was really upset about it. I said, "I'll let her stare." Just growing up, I've been so used
welcome to my world.
Anyway, yeah, I'm just whatever. Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes you self-conscious, but it's
Yeah, and one of the other challenges you listed were just some of the unhelpful questions that you or your family received. Are there any specific questions you can point to, or are there any questions you can just help others realize, hey, this question isn't all that helpful to ask? Are there a few of those that kind of come to mind that you can share to just help others be a little more sensitive and types of questions they may ask about this?
Yeah, I think one of the questions that, I mean, this is in my own heart, my frustrations when it comes to adoption, but kind of growing up, I would get, well, are they your parents? Do you see them as your parents? And that would really upset me, because yeah, they're my parents. I was adopted when I was a month old. They are my parents. And sort of questions like that. Oh, well, are they, you probably don't see them as your sibling because they don't look like you. And how can you guys be siblings? You guys don't look alike. And, she's Asian and you're not. It's like, well, thank you for that observation. I had no idea. I thought I was Asian this whole time. But yeah, just, I guess questions about that. And, at first like I said, I would be upset, but then the more I realized, it's like, okay, they just don't understand. And it goes back to learning to be patient with people. And it's like, okay, they may not understand. So how can I help them understand, or help them maybe ask better questions when it comes to adoption, or, cause I just felt like, oh my gosh, like, yes, these are my parents. And then I don't know. Anyway. So yeah, those questions are the two that kind of stick out to me. That aren't as sensitive.
Yeah. Well, Laura, this is really helpful, and I really appreciate you sharing all this with us. And, tomorrow we're going to get into kind of tying this into your ministry context at Redeemer Church. So once again, thanks for sharing all this.
Yes, you're welcome.